How do you choose what plants to grow in the vegetable garden? If you know what space you have to work with and what you would like to enjoy at the end of a little hard work, then you are off to a good start. Refer to the resources in this section to get a better idea of what will grow best in your particular growing conditions, from containers to a backyard garden and more. Let's begin by breaking down the types of plants that vegetables can be. First are perennials, which grow year after year from the same plant tissue, like asparagus and rhubarb. Most vegetables we grow are annuals, or tender perennials we grow as annuals because of cold winter conditions in Minnesota. These plants grow and thrive during our frost-free seasons. You will have to replant these types of vegetables year after year, as they will die once a hard freeze occurs. Annuals are often planted by seed or transplants. Annual vegetables can be broken into two different crop types, warm and cool season crops. We break these down to understand general growing time periods and environmental needs. Common cool season crops are lettuce, broccoli, spinach, cabbage, radishes, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and onions. These are usually planted in the late spring when the soil is workable and there is still a chance of cold nighttime temperatures. In some places across the state, you can grow cool season crops for a late fall harvest. These vegetables do not grow well in the warmer summer temperatures. Some cool season crops are great for succession planting because many of them mature when the summer warms up. For example, an early planting of spinach can be replaced by a heat-loving plant, which uses that space throughout the warmest part of the season. Think about this when planning your garden and what you would like to grow if you have limited space. Some favorite warm season crops are tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, squash, corn, and potatoes. These plants usually cannot handle cold weather and should be planted well after the threat of a late spring frost has passed. When growing a warm season crop, it is important to make sure you will have enough days in the season to allow the fruit to mature. These plants cannot survive an early fall frost either. Despite our harsh winter conditions, there are still a lot of vegetables you can grow successfully in Minnesota. How do you know which varieties will work best for your garden? Continual research produces new and exciting varieties of many different vegetables. You can learn about some of the newer varieties through the resources listed within this module. To help you use these resources, we will go over some tips for choosing the best varieties for growing in Minnesota. First, if you are starting with seeds, make sure you understand what the seeds need to germinate. Some seeds require a cold treatment to sprout, while others need warmer temperatures within a particular range. Check your seed packet for specific details and consider starting warm season crops indoors to be transplanted into the garden later. Check out the resources included within this module for more information on starting seeds. Next, think about days to harvest. This is the estimated amount of time that it will take a vegetable plant to produce a final product. It is important to make sure that you will have enough growing days for the plant to reach maturity. Furthermore, you can make plans to use space left by completed crops when you understand the days to harvest for the earlier spring crops. How can you figure out how many days to harvest you have where you garden? Let's look at some resources available through the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. On this map, click on the location that is closest to you. Let's go with Duluth. As the window opens, you will find a chart of climate data for this area, separated into spring, fall, and frost-free days. As you look through this chart, you can see what the percentage chance of each of these days is. So for example, there is a 10% chance of the temperature falling to freezing after June 6th. You can look at the same percentages for the first fall date, as well as the total of frost-free or growing days that occur in your general area. We will continue to work through this chart in the hands-on activity found within this module. Some vegetables do better when the temperatures trend warmer or cooler, which may or may not match the average temperature range of your garden. Using the climate data found through the Minnesota DNR, check to make sure that your garden will have enough warm days to grow particular vegetables and varieties. Hardiness zones come into play when considering perennial vegetables like asparagus and rhubarb. In general, hardiness indicates the amount of cold a plant can tolerate over the winter. We often discuss hardiness in terms of zones, determined by the USDA. Find your hardiness zone on the associated map and make sure your perennial vegetables are hardy enough to survive winter in your garden. What about disease? While it is not always possible to predict what kind of disease pressure you will experience in the growing season, you can try to prevent diseases which have consistently been a problem for you in the past. Let's say you always get late blight on your tomatoes. You can try growing a blight-resistant tomato in future years. While this does not guarantee a disease-free garden, it will make it less likely. You can learn what disease-resistant vegetables are available for your garden within the resources located in this module. Similar to diseases, some plants are less likely to be enjoyed by insect pests than others. Knowing what you are up against requires prior knowledge of the garden, but may help prevent future heartbreak. If you have a huge problem with Colorado potato beetles in your community garden plot, it may be best to grow something other than the potatoes, tomatoes, and peppers that are the main host for these pests. You can learn more about common insect pests and the plants they favor through the resources located in this module. Finally, if you want to extend your season through greenhouses, low tunnels, or other season extension techniques, make sure to choose plants which work best in these environments. For more information on season extension, check out the extras in this module. What about the more subjective considerations? After all, it is important that you will enjoy what is coming out of the garden too. First, think about what you want to do with the vegetables you grow. Do you want to simply supplement your diet? Maybe grow a handful of your favorite vegetables, focusing on flavorful types. Or, let's say you would like to make pickles and can enough tomatoes to last through the winter. Look for cultivars that are made to be preserved, such as sauce tomatoes or pickling cucumbers. Or, if you just want a garden to play around in, grow a little bit of everything and have fun experimenting. How about flavor and color? The world of vegetables is huge and diverse, and depending on what you want out of your vegetables, do not be afraid to try something new and different. Flavors of vegetables may change depending on the environmental conditions of your garden, so make sure you try various types to see what works in your garden and tastes good to you too. Also think about the size of what you are growing. Eggplants can be large or small, and tomatoes come in all sizes too. If you will be growing for children, maybe consider bite-sized vegetables, or grow the largest pumpkins you can. It all depends on your goals and priorities. Plants can also have different growth habits. Beans can climb up things or grow as a bush. Some broccoli will grow as a big head, while others may sprout tiny heads from the sides. Think about what you want from the garden and research what cultivars will best meet these goals. And lastly, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to heirloom, open pollinated, and hybrid types of plants and seeds. We do not have enough time to dive into the science behind seed genetics, but do know that if you are purchasing an heirloom, it is likely to be prized for its history and flavor, not necessarily appearance, production, or disease resistance. There's nothing wrong with either choice. Just make sure you know what you want and what you are getting into. There are a lot of things to think about when it comes to variety selection. How do you know which is right for you? Let's now work on an exercise to practice how to choose cultivars that will best work in your garden.